So another day that you are worried about how you're going to pass the ACT, the SAT, the GED, or any high school equivalency test. Maybe getting started for praxis, maybe getting your ASVAB together, your Accuplacer, so you can get started with your college career, but they need to figure out what math level you want to be in. And you don't want to start with the intermediate math because you're paying so much money for a non-accredited course. And if you feel stressed and feel overwhelmed just by dealing with mathematics itself because of how it was presented to you when you were younger, well then this is the live for you. My name is Audrey Codner, and I used to be a classroom teacher for 22 years, and I just completed my 6th year of being an online math tutor. And I've tutored everyone from on the East Coast, the West Coast, and also Nairobi, Kenya, and Cairo, Egypt. So what I do here is I basically show you how we can basically break down that math phobia that we developed, and then try to really focus on the math and how we can really understand how we break those concepts down. So what I basically do is we take math on just like it was a tree. So this is what's happening. A lot of us are trying to basically pass tests that has trigonometry, some algebra 2, some geometry, maybe even some pre-calculus or calculus, and even some statistics, remember, regardless if it's like basic statistics or a little bit advanced, and also any college math. So we're trying to pass all this. But in order for you to get to these different branches of math, you have to understand your algebra. Now, the algebra is basically the foundation, the structure of all advanced mathematics. A lot of people like to call it a gateway. But if we don't understand the concepts of algebra, we can't venture into these other branches. But some of us, we think the algebra is the problem. But every time I tutor someone, it's not the algebra. It's your basic foundation. It's an understanding your addition, your subtraction, your multiplication, division. Okay? If we can't understand the multiplication and division, obviously we're going to have problems with fractions. We're going to have problems with decimals as well as percent. So sometimes it's not an algebra problem, it's a foundational problem. We need to build our roots up. We had no decision on where our seed was planted. Okay, wherever we just got it planted, whatever the surroundings was, that's what we had to deal with. Okay, we didn't get to pick the school that we wanted to go to. For all the schools, especially elementary, you didn't get to pick your teachers. You didn't get to pick your curriculum. So you had to learn how to get all those basic stuff down first. So in order for us to look at some of these algebraic components, we have to build up these foundations. And what I do here is I look at algebra components, build up the foundations at the same time, and then apply it to the different branches. I know? See? This is the Math by Audrey learning tree. So we're going to start off with a word problem. And you're probably saying, oh dear Lord. No, it's okay. Because you are always faced with some kind of word problem. And it's really intensive. I know, and if you want to add some other words, I really want to know how you feel before you start trying to solve. Because when you look at a word problem like this, are you feeling confused? Are you feeling, overwhelmed? Don't know where to start? Because when you look at a word problem, you try to read it as if it was a romance novel and you're holding on into every single word. And what you're doing is you're confusing yourself. So one of the ways that I do breaking down word problems is not to read the whole thing. The first thing I go to is the question. So in our case, our question is asking, how many heavy cargo trucks were they delivered? Okay, So there must be, since they're saying how many heavy cargo trucks, that's telling me there might be a comparison of two different types of trucks. Because why were they so specific about cargo trucks? So now this is when I'm coming up and I'm taking a look at what is jumping at me. I'm reading this as like a detective. So I see a 40. So I know it says the shipment contains a total of 40 vehicles. Okay. And what are those vehicles? We have a light truck, light utility truck, and the heavy cargo trucks. See? So this kind of tells us what our variables are going to be. So I'm going to use X to represent my light utility truck. And I'm going to have Y represent my heavy cargo truck. So those are going to be my two unknown factors. But now we need to take a look. So we have each light utility truck has 4 wheels. Okay, so we must be doing something with the wheels. That's interesting. So we have light utility truck has 4 wheels. What else is jumping at me? Each heavy utility truck has 6 wheels. If the sergeant counts a total of 190 wheels on the ground, okay, excluding the spare tires, okay, now they're saying how many heavy cargo trucks were delivered. Now that I see there is a comparison, there's not only a comparison of the total number of trucks, but it's also a comparison of the number of wheels. So that should put a small trigger in us, a positive trigger. So we're going to have 2 sentences. All right? So the first equation, I should say, not sentences. So the first equation is going to deal with the trucks themselves. And the other equation is going to deal with the number of wheels. Okay? Because once they talked about a total of 40 vehicles, and then down here they talked about a total of 190 wheels, that is telling me I'm going to have 2 equations. One equation just dealing with the trucks, another equation just dealing with the wheels. So let's work on the trucks. I know that it's going to equal 40. But what equals 40? Okay, what equals 40? So we have a total of that many vehicles, which is the light utility and the heavy cargo. So light utility, right now we're using X to represent that. And the heavy cargo, it represents Y for that. So if we're saying a total of 40, that means we are adding. Okay, good morning, Brenda. Okay, we're adding. So that dealt with the physical trucks themselves. So now we're going to worry about the wheels. So again, they're saying each of the light utility trucks. So the light utility trucks is represented by X. So if each of the light utility trucks has 4 wheels, so that means each truck should have 4 wheels. We're not talking about the spare tire. We're talking about 4 wheels. So truck number 1, 4 wheels. Truck number 2, 4 wheels. Truck number 3, 4 wheels. So how many wheels is that? 4 plus 4 plus 4, or 4 times 3 will give us 12. But we don't know how many trucks there are. So that's why we put it as the 4 wheels times the number of trucks, which is X. Now we're doing the same thing with the heavy cargo trucks. So the heavy cargo trucks are represented by Y. They have 6 wheels. So that means we're dealing with 6Y. Because each of the trucks have 6 wheels. Then it says a total of 190. So total, that's addition. 190. Okay? So a lot of people generally get to the point where they're like, I don't know where to start with word problems. The first thing, find out what is your question. What are you looking for? Because from here, you can pull up information to create your unknowns. What's going to represent what? Then you notice whatever pulls out with a number, you're going to say, oh, total 40 what? 2 different types of trucks. Those are your variables. And you know if I add those 2 variables, unknowns, I'm going to get 40. Then we get here, all right, now we're talking about a total of wheels. Total of, that's equals. So that means for the light utility truck, it's 4 wheels. That's where the 4X came from. Each of the heavy cargo truck has 6 wheels. That's where the 6Y came from. The wheels of one truck, the wheels of a light utility, the wheels of a heavy cargo. We just set up what's called a system of equations. That's what you did. Okay, you did a system of equations. All right. So, when we are solving a system, and we did this yesterday, we can either do what's called substitution, or you can do what's called elimination. Now, when you're dealing with substitution, let's be a little strategic about it. Okay? So, with this, we need to know how many cargo trucks are delivered. So, we need to solve our equations for Y. So, what you want to do is this top equation, since you have X and Y's and what's in front as a coefficient are 1s, you could rearrange this top equation to solve either for X or for Y, to plug in, aka substitute, into that second equation. So this is one thing we could do. But since we're looking for the Y's, that means we want this second equation in terms of Y. We only want a Y, so we want to get rid of this X. Not solving for Y. We want to solve this top equation for X, because, let's show you. How do I solve this for X? So I am going to subtract the Y on both sides. So positive Y and negative Y cancels out and gives me a 0. I don't need the 0 because I still have my X. Now I got my 40 minus Y. So this 40 minus Y, I'm going to use to substitute in the second equation so I can get rid of that X. Okay? The reason why I'm solving this equation for the X is because I want to get rid of the X in the bottom equation. Because the question says that how many heavy cargo trucks were delivered. So that means I'm looking for heavy cargo trucks. I want this second equation in terms of Y. Okay? So now, let's substitute. So we have our 4, and then pulled out the X to put that 40 minus Y bring down my plus 6y equals 190. So we worked on setting up the system. Now we're going to do the distribution. So I know people came in and they're like, oh, there's too much work, there's too much this. Suck it up, Buttercup, because this is what you got to do to pass the test. Okay? It's up to you. Alright? So now let's take a look. We're going to distribute the 4 to everything inside that first parenthesis. Okay? We need to do the distributive property first. So 4 times 40, that gives me 160. Alright, it's 4 times 4, adding 0 at the end. Positive 4 and a negative y, that gives me a negative 4y. Bring everything else down. Alright, so after you distribute, that part's done. So now we're going to focus. So we have, if you haven't noticed, we have like terms right here. Okay. Thank you, too many. So we have like terms right here. So we have a negative 4y plus 6y. So my y's are automatically on one side, the equal sign. So you don't have to, add 4y to both sides and then subtract 6y on both sides. That's too much. All we have to do is combine our like terms, which are on the same side. So negative 4y plus 6y, that gives us 2y. Alright, so now we can bring down our equals 190, and we can also bring down our 160. But what operation am I putting here? This is the part that gets a lot of people. What am I going to put here between the 160 and the 2y? Is it going to be adding, subtracting? There we go. Alright, Miss, I see you. Jamila, I see you. Miss Big Lex, I see you. Maxie, I see you. Alright, Ms., I see you. Brenda, I see you. Devin, I see you. Flizzy Mo, I see you. Good. We're going to put a plus sign here, and the reason why is when you did your negative 4 plus 6, we got an answer of a positive 2. So this plus sign is not going with the 160, it's actually going with the 2. Okay, thanks so much for the follows, guys. So now, we need to isolate our variable, our y. So I know in order for me to do that, I can't touch the 2. The reason why, I got this 160 in the way. Right? So we need to get rid of or move that 160 to the other side of the equal sign. So this is when you do the inverse. Okay? So it's a positive 160, so that means I'm going to be subtracting 160 on both sides. So 160 minus 160 gives me 0, but I don't need 0 as a placeholder, but I can bring down my 2y. And then we have 190 minus 160, that gives us, sorry, had a hiccup, that gives us 30. Okay, so now focusing on the 2y equals 30. So 2y, that's 2 times y. So for us to do the inverse or the opposite will be divide. And what are we going to divide? Not the 30, but the 2. Because our goal is to get that y by itself. So 2 divided by 2, that gives me 1. Now, 1y and y means the same exact thing. Okay, so you don't have to say, oh, here's 1y. Okay, let me divide everything by 1 so y could be by itself. It's already by itself because there's physically 1y there. Okay, so this step right here is so unnecessary. It makes me crazy. Okay, but you still get your answer of 15. So now, y equals 15. What does that mean? Okay, some of you guys were telling me y equals 15, but what does it mean in reference to the problem? So let me go back so you can see the question. We got an answer of 15, but what does that mean? Okay, so Jamila said 15 trucks, but there was 2 different types of trucks. Which truck? Okay, but in reference to the word problem, Flizzy. Okay, Sag, good. Heavy cargo. Okay, every time you solve, you always go back to your question. How many heavy cargo trucks were delivered? And we said that heavy cargo was being represented by y. And what we found was y equal 15. So we are looking at, there you go, heavy cargo trucks. So our answer in this case would be A. Okay. So if you were taking the high school equivalency test or GED, this is a 4-point question. The reason why some of you guys haven't accomplished passing it is not because you're foolish. Strategically, you're skipping the big money questions because you're like, yeah, word problem, not going to do that. But you have to practice. But a lot of people say, oh, you just need to practice. Well, if you don't know it, how can you practice it? Let's be real with each other, okay? So this helps, hopefully this helps with breaking down the concepts step by step and having it. What are you representing? What are you looking at? What are you comparing? Anytime you're doing some kind of comparison, you're doing a system of equations. Unless they say at least or at most, you're doing a system of inequality. But the process is still the same. So again, this was substitution. All right? Let me rewrite it here. And then let me show you elimination. So we found our 2 equations. So this is going to be elimination. So instead of solving this top equation for a variable, we know that we have to find how many heavy cargo trucks. And the heavy cargo trucks were represented by y. So that means you want to eliminate your x's. So in order for me to eliminate or to cancel out, one has to have the same coefficient in front, as well as one's going to be positive and one's going to be negative. So if we want to, just going to flip this over right here. So we're going to focus on our x's right now. If I wanted to add my x's together, what do I need to do in order for them to be eliminated? Okay, try to put that in the chat. And if you're like, what are you saying? Let me repeat again. So if I want to add these x's together, that 1x and that 4x, and I need to do some changes to it in order for me to cancel them out, what do I need to do? Okay, Brenda, multiplied by what? You're right there. Multiplied by what? And if you're not sure, Brenda kind of helped us a little bit. If you're not sure, you can put a question mark in, because I'm going to explain it. Okay? All right. So Larry's saying -4. Hello, Larry. How are you? Okay. Brenda's saying 4 and 1. Okay. So which one are we going to agree with? All right. David Squared, thank you so much for your honesty. Okay. So we know multiplication is going to be involved because I made that happen. Okay. Daniel's saying a -5. Okay. Rhonda's saying not sure. Thank you so much. Okay, flip. Flip what? Okay, Mr. 20-something. Hello, welcome. Okay, thank you for your honesty. Because these are some of the things that holds us back. Okay, Mr. Johnson, thank you so much. I see you. All right. Okay. So this is what's happening. I want to cancel, thank you, Daniel. I want to cancel these two out. But like I said, it has to have the same number. Well, this one has a 1, this one has a 4. So I need for this to be a 4. But they have to be different signs. So since this one's already positive, that means this needs to be negative. So if I add these two together, they will cancel out. But here's the trick. I can't just do that to the x. I have to do this multiplication to everything in that first equation. Yeah. So I have to do everything. So in order for me to eliminate my x's, that means this x needs to turn into a -4, because -4 plus 4 will give me 0. So everything will cancel out. But in order for me to do this multiplication, I got to multiply everything in that top equation by -4. So let me carry it over this way. So we have our distributive property, and you got to distribute to everything. So that's how we're going to get -4x. We're going to get a -4y, and we're going to get a -160. Okay, so we had to distribute. But what do we do with that bottom equation? We just rewrite it. So we got our 4x plus 6y is equal to 190. Okay, so now I want to add those two equations together vertically. Okay, that's what we're looking at, vertically. So -4 plus +4, that gives me a 0. Not 0x, we don't need that 0 as a placeholder because we still have our y's to focus on. So we have a -4y plus a positive 6y. So if you have $6 and you spent 4, that means you still have $2 left. Okay, there you go. So now -160 plus 190. You have $190. You spent 160, which nowadays is not that hard. So you get 30. Then to get our y by itself, we have to do the opposite or the inverse of multiplication, which is division. So you get y equals 15. Alright, so you can do elimination or you can do substitution. Alright, so the choice is going to be yours. And this is the one thing I love when people say, oh, you just do it any way that you want. Well, if you don't know what the two ways are, I mean, there is a third way, which is to graph it, but that is going to take forever. You only have so much time to break down concepts when you're taking these standardized tests. That's the major thing. Because if you're studying like, oh, okay, it took me 10 minutes to do this one problem, you don't have 10 minutes to do a problem. If you're taking the ASVAB, you got 1 minute per question. If you're taking the GED, you got 1 minute and 10 seconds. GED or any high school equivalency test, you have 1 minute and 10 seconds per question. Okay, hey Zeus, how are you? All right, so this is why I like to show both ways. Okay, again, the way you break down word problems, you can't avoid them. Okay, that's giving points away. The things that you cannot avoid, you need at least 3 4-point questions in order to pass. Even if you do okay with the basic arithmetic, but if you can get 3 of those 4-point questions, you're gonna pass. And the 4-point questions consist of, are you ready? Slope, the equation on the line, okay, graphing equations on the line, like linear equations, graphing linear inequalities. Then we have system of equations. You have factoring. You have volume, surface area, basically anything dealing with graphing. Okay, those are the major ones. I always feel like there's one missing, but those are the major ones. Okay, so really getting to know that. So this we're going to continue on with translating and solving. So if you like problems like these, I actually developed a couple of books. So one of the books that I developed is called Algebra at Your Pace. So it takes you through the whole process of all the stuff that you need for the GED, the ASVAB, the TEAS and HESI tests, the beginning ones, and the Accuplacer, okay? So we can get you ready for those assessments. So it's not just a regular workbook. What happens is there's a QR code and it gives you a video instruction for each of the books. There's a total of 10 books. Then all you do is it gives you a place to write notes, because that's what we need to do nowadays. Give you a place to write down all your practice notes, and then at the end of the concepts, you get extra practice problems. You get extra practice problems in the video as well as an exit ticket. But then you also get extra practice problems so you can solidify what you've learned. It's not good enough just to watch videos, guys. I don't know when it's going to click, because that's what you've been doing. Maybe 2, maybe 3 times of taking the test and not getting the results that you want because you keep doing the same thing. Okay? You're watching videos, but you need to watch it as a student, not as a spectator. That's a huge difference. So as you go through the books, on the very end, I give you resources just in case of those things that you forgot, like how to add or subtract, multiply, and divide with fractions, with decimals. Okay, maybe it's the rules of integers got you all kind of bent out of shape. So I give you those and I put it in color. So you can have either the digital copies of this or you can have the physical copies on the A. So this is a factors chart. When it's time for you to break down factoring, break down radicals, you need to know what are the factors of each of the things. So now I take it to 1 to 200. All right. So it gives you all the resources, and of course in the very back, especially the first one, I give you more extra practice problems with the exponents. This side is the question, this side is the answer. So you can continue quizzing yourself as you develop in your stages. Okay. So when you do all that, and if you need the practice, and if you need, because a lot of my practice books, they're just like mock assessments. Okay? So that means you need to sit down. You need to time yourself. Okay, you need to practice the way that you're going to assess. All right? Okay. So when you do all of that, you have for your practice exams, and most of my practice exam, you can either get the physical book or just get the book and have the answer key, or you can have the book and the video answer keys. So those are options. For people that loves to do the ASVAB and you're worried about the arithmetic reasoning section, I designed these books, okay, just like the arithmetic reasoning. Okay, a little bit spread out, but you still have to figure out pulling stuff out from word problems. Okay, some of them is just a little naked math, what they have on there. So to give you all the challenge. Again, I would, and if you want to, if you're taking the GED, this is also a good practice book for you as well. But my initial design for this was for the ASVAB. Okay, again, you can have the practice books, or you can have the instructional books. Okay, and I still do have a sale going on just for TikTok people. For $22, you can get Volume 1, and it's only the digital copies of Volume 1, Volume 2, which is the order of operation, and Volume 3. Okay, that sale is going off, and it is $22. You get all 3 digital copies. Everything that these books have, the digital copies have. Okay, every single solitary thing. So it kind of goes through it step by step. All you do is you just basically scan your QR code, and then you'll see a whole playlist that goes through each of the sections. So you see how I break things down here? Same thing happens there. Okay, so for your niece, if anything, the link is in my profile. Okay, it's under my stand store. So if we go to, oops, thought I had my TikTok up. Alright, so if you go to my profile, then you see stand store, that's the first link. And then it will take you directly to that link. All you have to do is scroll up. So if you want to get, I do have a freebie here for the math checkup. So if you don't know where you are mathematically and you want to have a good idea, go ahead and do the math checkup. But the thing that I was talking about, our feature, is the back to school math starter. So here, it'll be great for middle school, it'll be great for yourself. Alright, so you're looking at volumes 1, 2, and 3. They're definitely a digital download. Notice the bold. Okay, so, and it has everything that you need for like people that are going into those transitional years. And it's not even just for 7th and 8th graders. It could be for anyone that also needs a refresher. Okay, maybe for extra practice at home. So this is where you guys go to. Okay, if you keep scrolling, you put your information in, you can put your payment information, and it'll be sent directly to your email. Okay, you're so welcome. Alright, so again, it's right through my stand store. And if you just want to say, hey, Audrey, I just need to work on graphing. Well, graphing will be volume 5, 6. No, volume 4. That's the linear one. So if you're just like, okay, I just really need to work on my graphing, so you come here to Algebra at Your Pace, Volume 4. This is when you get with your linear equations. I don't know why there's a huge space there, but I will clean that up. Alright, so it tells you all the stuff that's going to be listed in there, and it gives you not just practice problems, but it also gives you instructions. Okay, so this is where you can go. Alright, so we're going to do a little more practicing with word problems. Okay, so let me take this away just for a moment. And what I have is my verbal from, so I'm going to give you a situation. Sorry, I have to move some stuff around. Okay, so we are going to work on translating this. Okay, translate this verbal statement into an algebraic expression. Okay. Translate this expression into an algebraic, or this statement into an algebraic expression. Thank you for sharing the lives. I appreciate it. Thank you for just giving me your time and your attention. Okay? I'm here to help. I don't want to be a burden. I want to be help. Okay? And we need to take this information and practice. Okay? So John, I see you. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, anyone else? And if you're not sure, put a question mark. Okay, I still want to get people participating. Okay? Still want to get people participating. Okay, Mariah, thank you. All right, and if you're not sure, you could put a question mark. If you're busy because you're like, oh, I just want to do the freebie and do a check, all right, that's fine as well. But if at the same time, if you look at the stuff and you're like, all right, I got this, but the answer key is giving me something weird, just reach out, take a picture of it, and DM me your results. Okay? And if you're like, I couldn't do any of it, send me a DM and say that. Okay? So we can develop a plan. Hello, Susan. How are you? Good morning. All right? So let's take a look. Product of a number and 6 increased by 14. Okay? So if we're looking at, we have basically two operations going on here. We have product of, and we have increased by. So product means multiplication. So what are we multiplying? We're usually multiplying two things, because anytime it says product of, that means you're multiplying two things. The one thing is the number, and the other thing is 6. Okay, so that's what we're looking at first round. So how would I write the product of a number and 6? It's the same as saying 6 times x. We don't know what the number is. You can use any letter in the alphabet except for E and I, because those are actually numbers. If not, take a look. So if we're doing the product of 6 and a number, increased by. Increased by means plus. And what are we increasing it by? 14. Okay. So John and Mariah, there you go. And She Bites, I see you as well. Okay. What are you trying to solve for? Alright. Okay. For E or I. For the number. Right. There you go. I think you're trying to say addition. Yes. Addiction. You okay, girl? Alright. So now I'm going to pull out just 4 random cards, because now I developed a good 40 of them. So we have, whoops, got a little crazy. We have 4 cards here. You guys get to pick. Do you want card 1, 2, 3, or 4? Okay. I was like, girl, we okay? Are you trying? Is it a call for help? Alright, I see you, Mariah. So let's pick. Which card would you like to extend on? Would you like 1, 2, 3, or 4? Go ahead, put a number up there. Okay, 4. Alright, card 2. Alright, so we got 2 and 4. We got 3, because it's not helping. Here we go. Alright, July. July with 4. Okay, so we got 2 and 4. Okay. Alright, now we're getting 4. Because I take the majority. Hello, Sharon. Okay. Yeah, Letty, I already saw the other one, so far 4. Who's going to be the breaker? Who's going to switch it up? Alright, go once. Going twice. Alright, we're going to do number 4. So, here's the extension. So now we're turning this expression into an equation. Because now it says is equal to the number increased by 12. Okay, what does that translate? Is equal to the number increased by 12. How would I write that part? Okay, Mariah, I see you. Adolfo, I see you. Okay, Natural Queen, I see you. Very close. Okay, Chrissy, I see you, but what's missing? Okay, Letty, I see you, but what's missing? So Natural Queen, what are you adding 12 to? There we go, Chrissy. Good. Okay, I see you, Mariah. But what's different? Okay, there she go. Yeah, it's just the addition. Alright, so Wiz says is equal to, so that's equals, the number, so we're still using the same number that we did from the first situation, increased by 12. So we know increased by and 12. Okay. Alright, so don't forget to the number. Since we didn't know what the number was here, we're not going to know what the number was there. So now, as we put this aside, let's get with solving. So we have a variable on both sides of equal sign. So in order for us to turn things around, we need for our x's to be on one side and for our constants to be on the other side. And it doesn't matter where you put the x, okay? So if you want to put the x's on the left-hand side, that means I have to subtract this x on both sides. Because x minus x will give me 0. But I don't need that placeholder of 0 because I still have my 12 that needs to come down. So we have 6x minus x. Anytime you see an x, it's always assumed that there is a 1 in front of it. In this case, it would be a negative 1. So it's really 6 minus 1, which gives us 5x. Okay. Hey, Marlene, how are you? All right. So now that's taken care of. We no longer have to worry about what goes on top. Now we're going to focus our attention on the next line. So what do we need to get rid of this time? What do we need to get rid of this time? Okay, the 14. There you go, yo. Good. Okay, Mariah. Good. Not sure, folks. Okay, we're going to subtract the constant. We're going to subtract the 14. Because remember, 12, if I subtract the 12, I have nothing left on this side. I always want to balance things out. It's almost looking at a guy when he's sitting down and from the waist up, he's just ripped to shreds. And then when he gets up, you're like, what's up with the twig for legs? I need for you to even things out. If you're going to lift weights, do a leg day, okay? Even things out. If you are lifting weights and you're putting weights on one side of the bench but not the other side, you're going to try to kill yourself, right? Because once you lift it up, all the weight is going to pull you to one side, okay? So we always like to even things out. Exactly. All right? So since this is a plus 14, we're going to do the inverse, which is minus 14. And whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, you do to the other. So positive 14 and negative 14, that gives me 0. But I don't need the 0 because I still have my 5x. So 12 minus 14, that will give me a negative 2. Right? There you go, Steph. Thank you. So now we have 5x is equal to negative 2. And you're like, oh God, no, Audrey, I did something wrong. No, you didn't. Okay? So forever, that person that you had in your life in the very beginning that says when you get a fraction, you did something wrong, is not true. Fractions are numbers. And that's one thing I had to learn the long way. So we have our x equals, because 5 divided by 5 gives me 1. So 1x and x means the exact same thing. So now you have a negative 2/5. Okay? So the answer, that missing number that made us, to give us a true statement with this, the product of a number and 6 increased by 14 equals the number increased by 12. The number is a negative 2/5. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's try another one. Still got time for maybe 2 more. All right. Let's try this. Let's just do this. Flip. There we go. Flip most odd. All right. Translate that. The quotient of a number and 8. What is the quotient of a number and 8? Danny, you're going to have to face your fear. You're going to have to suck it up, Buttercup. Because everything in life is not whole. You can't run away from it. It's always going to be there. At least now you got a person that's going to help you face your fear. Alright? Okay, so Letty, I see you. Steph, I see you. Mariah, I see you. Okay, John, I see you. Okay. Alright, and if you're not sure, put a question mark in. Okay. The part that's throwing a lot of you is this word, quotient. Okay? Without you knowing what a quotient is, it's holding you back from doing the translation. So quotient is what you get when you divide numbers. Okay? That's the result after you do division. That's your quotient. And it's saying the quotient of. Anytime it says product of, quotient of, sum of, difference of, that means you're doing an operation with 2 numbers. In this case, the 2 numbers is a number, which we don't know, which we're going to use as x, and 8. Okay? Okay. So it's your division. Yep. Because if you're doing long division, so say 2, we have 5. Okay. This here, that's called your dividend. This here, that's called your divisor. And whatever we get up top as a result up here, that's your quotient. Alright, so if I continue on, this that's your remainder. Okay. Alright. So whatever you get for an answer here, that's your quotient. You got your dividend, you have your divisor, and that's your remainder. Okay. So now let's pick a card for our replacement. Kind of see if I can move these around a little bit. Alright, so we got 4 cards. What do we want to do for the extension? Do you want card 1, 2, 3, or 4? Pick a card, any card. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay, John saying 3, Ray saying 3. Okay, Tammy saying 3. Mariah saying 3. Nikki saying 3. Alright. Okay, we're going to do number 3. And we got is not less than the product of number and 5. Okay, is not less than the product of the number and 5. I know some people are like, ugh, why did I pick this one? Because it's part of it. Bands, I see you. Yep, you got John's back. Good job. Alright. So, how would I translate this into an algebraic expression? How can I translate that into an algebraic expression? Is not less than the product of the number and 5. That's the best thing about these extensions. You never know what you're about to come up with. Because I don't know what the beginning part. Okay, so we have x minus 5. Alright, John. Mija. Okay, equals 2 or greater than. Okay. Interesting. Alright. Saying greater than x5. Okay, Mariah, I see you. Greater than or equal to. Alright, Snoopy, I see you. Alright. One more person. If you're not sure, remember, you can put a question mark. And that's perfectly fine. Alright? Because we're getting the learning done here. Alright, so let's take a look. Is not less than. Let's take a look at that part. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Mariah. Okay, Ray, very close. So, is not less than. We're definitely talking about an inequality because the word is. Okay, we know is usually equals, but since it's paired with not less than, So that means it is an inequality, but it's not going to be less than. Instead, it's going to be greater than. Not greater than or equal to, just greater than. Because if it says it's not less than, and it didn't follow up or greater or equal to, it's just going to be the greater than sign. Now what's after that greater than sign is the product of a number and 5. So we didn't know what the number was over here, so it's going to still be the same number over here. So the product of the number and 5, that's multiplication, that's 5x. Okay, yes, so it's going to be greater than 5x. Alright, well this should be fun. So now let's solve. So we're trying to get x by itself. But right now, this fraction is messing it all up. So anytime you see a fraction, that's division. The inverse of division is going to be multiplication. What am I multiplying on both sides? What do you think we're going to multiply on both sides? Okay. Yes, yes. Good. Yes. We're going to multiply whatever our denominator is. Doesn't have to be negative. Okay? That's when we're adding or subtracting. Right now we're dealing with multiplication. So if we multiply by a positive 8, so 8 divided by 8 gives us 1, so they cancel out. I can bring down my x, I can bring down my greater than, and now I'm going to multiply 5x and 8, right? Which gives us 40x. The reason why I did not change the inequality sign, why didn't I change the direction of the inequality sign? Why didn't I change the direction of the inequality sign? Okay. So Mija. Okay. So it wasn't negative. It's not less than, so it's greater than. Yes. It was positive. It's an operation. What do you mean it's an operation? Not dividing by a negative sign. Good. It's Lewis. Okay. We multiplied by a positive 8. When we multiply by a positive number, the direction of your inequality stays the same. It's only when you multiply or divide by a negative number, that's when the inequality sign changes. Okay? That's exactly what happens. So since we multiplied by a positive 8, my inequality stays the same. Okay. So we have variables on both sides of the equal sign. So now, yep, it can change. Anytime you multiply or divide by a negative number, it changes direction. So just like if I was solving the equation, I need to put my x's on one side. So this is when it gets fun. So I can say negative x, negative x. So we have x minus x. Since there's nothing else here, I am going to need that placeholder of 0. Okay. So now I have like terms over here. I have 40 minus 1. Okay. So that gives me my 39x. I think we all see where this is going to go to, but we're going to follow it through. So 39 times x, we need to do the inverse. So that means the inverse is dividing the 39. So since we divide it by a positive number, my inequality sign stays exactly the same. And then 0 divided by anything is 0. Okay? The inequality sign did not change when we subtract x. It has nothing to do with adding, subtracting. It has to do with multiplying or dividing a negative number. That's when that changes direction. So here's your true statement, especially with inequalities. They're never going to give you something nice and easy. So we can say that 0 is greater than x, or, since a lot of us read from left to right, you would like to say x is less than 0. If you read it from right to left, you got x, this would be less than 0. So we can say 0 is the largest of all the numbers, or you can say the numbers are less than 0. Either way, if I had a number line and I'm looking at 0, in order for me to get a true statement for this equation, I need for all my numbers not to include 0, hence the open circle, but it's going to have all the numbers all the way to negative infinity. Okay? Not a problem. Alright? So any of these numbers will make it into a true statement. If I said negative 8, if I plug negative 8 in for the original equations, I'm going to get a true statement. So if my original equation was x over 8 is greater than 5x, and if I plugged in a negative 8 for the x, so I'll have negative 8 over 8 is greater than 5 times negative 8. So negative 8 divided by 8 will be a negative 1. Okay? And then 5 times negative 8, that'll give me a negative 40. So is negative 1 greater than negative 40? Yes, that's a true statement. What's a better situation? Just being down $1 versus being down 40 bucks. Yeah, 40 bucks kind of, you can do some stuff for $40. You can be really creative. Just losing $1, you're like, all right, I can do this. All right. So that's how you can check it as well. Okay, that was a little challenging because we didn't know what the other part was going to be. All right. Okay, so I am going to pause right here because I have to get myself ready for my tutoring session. I didn't know it was going to be this so advanced. But if you like all of the cards, if you like the resources, again, just go to the link in my bio. Okay. Don't know. Oops. So if you go to the link in my bio, let me clear that up a little bit. Okay, just click on the Stand Store. Okay, sorry that was a little bit bright. And then all you have to do is scroll. So there is a free checkup, just to want to check up on your math skills. Click on it, sign up, and it'll get directly put into your email. Alright, so if you're interested in any kind of tutoring, you can go there. If you want the back to school math starter to help you with that, I'm not saying, oh, this is only for middle school students, but I just wanted to give something out for back to school because guys, some of you guys are going back to school in about 4 weeks. I know, it's crazy. things are just flying by. Alright, so if you want any of my cards, if you want any of the starters, if you're curious about certain things, hey, I'd rather you ask me before you purchase anything. And I'm serious about that. Because some of you guys need the instruction. You are trying to use what you remembered years ago to apply to a test that you're currently taking. And I know a lot of people say you just need to practice, you just need to practice. Well, you can practice incorrectly. You can memorize a way completely wrong, and you can convince yourself that it's right. Okay? So I'd rather you have all the information that you need. If you just want the practice resources, I have the individual practice resources. But if you want the practice resource with the video solutions, they're here as well. Okay? 2-5. Okay. This is folks to follow. Alright. Hey, this works. Alright. So what about advanced? What about advanced what? Letty, what are you thinking? What about advanced what? Okay. Alright. I didn't want to keep scrolling all the way up. Alright. And give me a few hours. Because sometimes it takes a little longer, especially after an hour. If you want, you can also sign up or subscribe to my YouTube channel. Okay, I put all of my replays, okay, in here. So you see TikTok Live Uncut, okay, Math by Audrey. So I put all of my replays in here. So this was from yesterday morning. This was from yesterday afternoon. Okay, so there may be some concepts in here that you're like, ooh, I might be able to learn a little bit more stuff, and that's fine. Okay, I'd rather give you with the resources that you need in order to be successful. All right, there you go. There you go. You're out of high school. All right. So are you going into the college league? Did you have to take the Accuplacer? Are you, like, what's going on? What is your goal? Because now, ladies and gentlemen, you have learned so much information today. Okay, learned a little bit about systems. But what are you going to do with this information? I ask this almost every live. Like, what are you going to do with this information? Are you just going to be like, oh, that was fun. I did a couple screenshots. Everything is good. Okay, you're saying yes. Yes to what? Are you going into the military? Are you going back to school? Did you have to do your Accuplacer? Or, what are we doing? Okay. So when you take all this information and then you wonder why when you just push it to the side and then, a day later you take a look at it, you're going to be like, oh, how did she do that again? Because you didn't solidify what you were learning. You didn't okay, let me take a look at it again. Let me walk myself through it again. Let me see what she did. Oh, I can't remember what she did. Now you know you can go to YT and be able to look up what you need to look up. Or you can also go to that. XD. What does that mean? Okay. We're going to go into psych. Okay. We're going to go into psych. XD. What's XD? Don't know what XD means. Is it new lingo? Okay, but it's so fun. Okay, of course. Alright? So, if you do need any kind of assistance, okay, if you want to go into it, I know, I'm like, what kind of new lingo is this now? I'm officially older. I'm not old. I'm older. And plus, I haven't been in the school system, so it's been a while. So where do we find your videos? You can go to my YT channel. I know I can't really say the exact words, but here's one way that you can find it. It's a little bit easier, is if you go to my profile, zoink, all right, there's a link right here that says Stan Store Math by Audrey. So if you just click on that, And then right here, this is all my social media. Okay, if you want to email me, you can email me, perfectly fine. All right, but if you want to go to my YT, go to this one. And then this is my YT. And then you can go ahead and subscribe. And then you just scroll down and you can watch all the videos. But the thing with the videos, it's not consistent. Whereas my Algebra at Your Pace, it guides you through it. Okay, from the very beginning, talking about your numbers, talking about how to add, subtract, multiply, divide, integers, fractions, decimals, percentage. Okay, your distance, rate, and time type word problems, your age type word problems that they love to use in the ASVAB. Okay, and they use a couple of them in the GED as well. All right. Oh, okay. Got you. Thank you. Our old school emojis. But it made it fun? Yeah. And why do you hate algebra? It's how it was presented to you. Okay? And that's why a lot of us have math trauma, including me. I had to figure it out. I had a person that knew the information and they just go blah, 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 and they're like, okay, everyone copy this down. Why? Asking the question, how do I break this down? How do I know to use this formula versus this formula? What are the key words? What are the key phrases? Like, how do I do word problems? No one taught us how to do word problems. If you're at 25 plus, you might at 25. But if you're like my age, 50 and plus, they didn't teach us how to do word problems. They just say, here, do it. Do what? Can you show me how to break all this stuff down? And that's how you actually need to get into it. And then all of a sudden you notice other people were getting it and you're like, I got nothing. And you just had the teacher like, what, you don't get it? Why do I have to have a teachers with attitudes? Like, what is up with the attitude? Break it down for me. This is not my first time. You have seen this. Sometimes I always want to say to teachers, you've seen this before. You probably taught like 4 classes of it, and I know you feel tired of repeating yourself, but this is my first time seeing it. I need for that to happen. So that's why when I have my Algebra at Your Pace books, I designed with you guys in mind. So you have the videos. You don't have to go searching for YouTube all over the place. Sorry, YT. But you have the videos. You have the instructional piece that you're writing stuff down. You learn by writing things down. It gives you the practice problems. So now you don't have to go on, Chat GPT in order to get the questions. You got questions already here, and the answers are like right in the back. Okay? Hi, hello. All right, so everything is here for you. And even if we go further in the back, sometimes I give you guys flashcards. Like this one is for solving equations. So I give you flashcards, aka matching cards, because you have your solving, but then you have your answers and you can match them. It's just a fun way of doing your practice instead of just getting worksheets after worksheets after worksheets. And I've been looking at workbooks, and if not, you get an answer key, of course, in the back, just in case you get a little lost. But you want to build up your independence of understanding. That's the problem. That's the problem with a lot of the PDFs. That's the problem with a lot of workbooks. They give you the answer in the back of the book, but when you read it, you're like, can we make this more student-friendly? Can you just talk to me as if I'm 2? Don't treat me crazy, but just do that. All right? So this is why I basically said, look, I need for you to do this at your pace. Because when you sign up for a community college course or any kind of courses to do your GED, the ASVAB, the pace is, we need to get this done in 6 weeks. And you're thinking, oh, 6 weeks, I can get all this stuff done. But you forgot, you haven't seen this since you were a fetus. And now you're trying to come in and try to make all these connections so quickly. That's hard. That's why I said at your pace. So if you get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and you're wide awake, you can watch a chapter. 20 minutes. I don't do 5-minute videos. I'm very detailed oriented. Okay, so it's a good 20 minutes, and it does a lot of practice within there, sometimes 3 or 4 practice depending on the situation, and then you get an exit ticket at the end of the video. In order to see your answer, you need to go to the next video. That's when we start off with the answer of the previous one. Okay, well, thank y'all. So this is why I do it. And if you're saying to yourself, Audrey, I only have like 2 weeks because I got to take this test in 2 weeks. Well, my suggestion, depending on where you are, if you're taking the ASVAB, I would definitely go with the math practice plus video explanation. That is going to be my recommendation, because I take each and every one of these problems and I broke them down personally, so now you can see where you're getting the answers from, instead of just having a generic, just a generic like answer key, like the answer is this, the answer is 49, the answer is that. Now you got me walking you through step by step why you should pick that answer. Okay? Same thing for the regular practice. I went through each and every one of these practice problems. Okay? All of them. All of them. I know my eyes got really big right there. Okay? So if you feel like I want the practice, but I also want the support, get the practice exam with the answers. Okay? With the video answers. That's going to help you. So if you're like, I'm short on time, but I do want to practice, those are my 2 biggest recommendations. Again, if you go to the link in my profile, click on it, you're going to scroll down and you'll see these 2. Okay? Alright, this is what the covers look like. Okay? Alright? So hopefully I helped make your tree a little stronger. Okay? Hopefully we got a little bit more into like the basic math concepts, and we did some of the algebra. So all that stuff, the more stronger you're going to get this trunk, the better the branches are going to be. So then you can go to any branch of mathematics just by understanding your basic concepts. All right? But if you have any questions whatsoever, I'd rather you click my profile pic a couple of times and send me a DM. Okay, send me a direct message. Don't just say hi, because that's what my scammers do and I immediately throw it out. Tell me what test you're taking, or tell me how you felt about the live, because that kind of helps me to get a better job, because sometimes the analysis that I get from TikTok is very sporadic. I want to hear from you. Is this helpful? Because I don't want to waste your time. My time is going to be whatever my time is. But I want you to benefit for every moment that we have together. All right? All right, everyone. Well, I'm going to wrap up. And I'm going to see if I can upload this onto my YT. And if you have any questions, you're thinking about purchasing something, do the math check. Okay? Do the math check. It's a free math check. And if you don't understand, if you're stuck on something, take a picture of it. Send it to me in my DMs. Okay, you can send me a message in my DMs, and then we can take it from there. Okay? Alright. Alright, everyone. Well, have a lovely day, and I will talk to you. I might, actually, I don't think I'm going to be coming back on this afternoon. No. I'm not even sure about this evening, but definitely not this afternoon. I might come on, but I will definitely be here tomorrow morning. Okay? All right, everyone. Take care and have a lovely day.